Hey guys, how are you? Happy Thursday. We're having technical difficulties. So this is being recorded, but hello, how is everybody? We're so happy that you all are here and tuning in. Tonight we are going to talk to a few special ladies that I have joining us. I told you every Thursday that we were going to be doing this. We're going to talk a little bit about the business and just kind of hang out and chit chat a little bit. So first off, I just want to say I appreciate you so much for taking the time to hop on, watch this recording. And I want you to know, if you're watching, that you're going to hear these stories and they're going to be really, really amazing stories, but I don't want you to count yourself out. I don't want you to think that like, oh, wow, these girls' stories are amazing. They've done great things. There's no way I could do that. You absolutely can do that. And that you can do everything that all four of us have done. You just have to be willing, and you're going to hear this in their stories. You just have to be willing to take foot off the table and just dive right in, because right now, I'm telling you, whatever generational cursors you might have, or maybe you don't even have them, you always have the opportunity every single day to get up and make a difference and make a change in your life. It all starts with that one change and putting that one foot in front of the next and just pushing off the boat and just go. So I'm going to take it over to Sam Conrad. If you want to share your story, how are you? I'm just so happy to have her here, guys. She is a new mama to twin babies, and she is taking her time out of her busy schedule to share her story. So Sam, go ahead.
Hi guys. So like Carly said, I'm Sam and I have 12-week-old twin boys, and I also have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I could sit here and tell you everything that has happened in the last 3 years in the business, but I don't want you to know specifically what's happening right now. I want you to know where I was when I started, because that's why you're here, right? So where I was when I started was I was working full-time as a pediatric nurse, commuting an hour each way. I was functioning as a single mom because we're a military family. My husband is active duty in the Army. And so I was basically doing it all on my own. He was in Alaska, I was in Pennsylvania. And I remember just those long drives to the hospital and those 12-hour shifts that turned into 13-hour shifts and 14-hour shifts. And I was paying a mortgage payment. I don't even need to tell you, but a mortgage payment and student loans. And so, yes, I was making good money, but I was giving all my time to the hospital every other weekend, every other holiday, all the times, right? Like all the moments I wanted to be with my now 5-year-old. At the time, 3 years ago, I didn't have it. And I was pushing her off to 2, 3 people in a day. And if one of those people fell through, the whole thing came crashing down. I was sat in front of management and told that I was pretty much going to be fired if I had to call off one more time because my daughter had chronic ear infections. And it was this emotional battle back and forth. So I'm putting all my paychecks to student loans, really just making ends meet, not really having the extras. And I knew there was something else out there. So at the same time, I was on a fitness journey, and I actually came across a post. And my enroller is Caitlin, who's also going to be talking to you, but she had posted about fat burning coffee and chocolate. And how could I not, right? Like I was working these shifts, I was going to Starbucks buying these like tall venti coffees every afternoon. And thank God, like all the surgeons were amazing and bought my coffee most of the time. But regardless, I was like caffeining it up all the time. And I was like, if I could just have this fat burning coffee and chocolate, because like, why not chocolate, and change my life, right? Like make a difference. I have celiac disease, so it's very hard for me to find things that really agree with me and I can sustain. And so I was like, you know what, give it a shot. Something in me just like, do it. So I ordered, and I like, you ever see that Cinderella meme on Facebook where she sips her coffee and she turns into Cinderella and like she's in a beautiful gown? That is literally what fat burning coffee and chocolate does for me, chocolate greens. So I became a customer, and within 2 weeks, Caitlin was like, hey, you want to make $500 extra a month? And I was like, no. No. And then she's like, you want to make $500 extra a month? And I was like, this has been brought to me before. And I Beachbody, all the things, like I had done them, and it wasn't me. Right. And so with zero experience, I met Caitlin for a lunch, and I was like, there's just something that's telling me to go for it. And I did. And 3 years later, I was like goosebumps up head to toe, because 3 years later, here I am, and I'm a double diamond, and I was able to replace my income as a nurse. And when my daughter, who is 2, was born, when I went into labor, was the last time I ever walked into the hospital as a nurse. And so here I am over 2 years later, and able to talk to you in a place that I never thought I would be. I'm able to live life and travel and do all the things and be here for my babies. And that's how 2 more babies happened. Like I went 2 to 4. That's crazy. And I still can't believe it, but here we are. We're living in Tennessee. We've moved 7 times in 8 years. So if you're sitting here like, I don't have time, I can't do that. I'm the one to tell you that, like, I was the busiest I ever was in my life. And I just keep getting busier. And these blessings, the blessings that this business has given me has like paid me more than it could ever pay me in my bank account. It has just blessed my entire life. So if you're thinking about it, you need to just do it. You need to just go for it and say that you gave it your best shot. So that's what I got.
I love that. So I have a question for you because I feel like, not that you purposely jump over like the hardest, I think like the biggest to me is like, what was it about you that you made the decision that you wanted to join? Because here you are, you're living a life that I feel like most of us or society tells us you're successful, like you should be having it all together, you have a great job, you're like, a pediatric nurse, or wait, pediatric nurse, right? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That, like, to me, when you say that, like, that's something where I'd be like, oh dang, she got her shit together, like she must be rolling in the dough, living in a nice house, like, just that career woman. So what was it that you made that kind of switch from your to join? I mean, I feel like, you know what I mean?
Right, right. No, I hear that. It's funny you bring that up because I think about it often, and I used to think like too as I was thinking about joining. I'm like, I'm a nurse. Like, why do I need an extra thing? Like, what are people going to think? That was like one of the first things. What are people going to think? Here I am with 2 bachelor's degrees, and how could I be joining this online business and I'm going to stay home in my sweatpants, right? Like, who am I? Okay, so what made it a deciding factor was the fact that I wasn't happy. So I love my patients. I love being a pediatric nurse. I'm really passionate about it. If you get me on a nurse conversation, like watch out because I won't stop. But what I didn't love was my life. And I knew that I had met some nurses along the way that were like, really not loving life. And they were there like 20, 30 years and they just were miserable. And they look back and they're like, I worked overtime. I made all the good money, but I missed the Christmas. I missed the first steps. I missed all the things. And I knew that like there was a way to be able to provide for my family, but be there, right? Like I knew I could be there. And I remember going home some nights, I'd pick Lily up and I'd take her to daycare and she would be asleep. Right. And so she'd be waking up in the car and I'd kiss her and I would send her off. And when I would pick her up at night, she would be in her pajamas for that night and she would fall asleep in the car. And by the time I get home, I'd be home in time to just put her in her crib. And like that makes me like choke up because I remember sometimes I wouldn't put her in a crib and I would just lay in my bed with her and hold her and cry. I would just cry myself to sleep because I had missed so much. So this business isn't just about the money, guys. Like this is about the freedom of time because I'm not stressed to make that decision anymore. I'm not. That hasn't crossed my mind in so long. And I can't tell you how forgiving that is to me. My soul needed that. So that's why.
That's so good because I feel like there's a lot of people that are watching this that are probably in your same shoes where from the outside you would think that they have it all together, but underneath they're like little duck feet under the water like this trying to survive, and you're watching your babies grow up before your eyes and you're missing those moments. And I feel like the holidays, this is, guys, it's Christmas, and like this is why people join the business. When you look around and you realize the moments that you're missing, and just that time, I feel like time is too short. So I appreciate you, Sam, for just taking the time out and coming on here and sharing your story. I see that Kesley's baby is asleep right now, so I want to hop over to her before we get interrupted a little bit. So go ahead, Kesley.
All right. Hi, guys. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, let's soak up this piece while we have it. Because let's be real, I was going to put myself together a little bit before we hopped on here, but when the baby cries, the baby cries. And sometimes life just doesn't go as planned, right? But my name's Kesley. I am a 33-year-old mom of 2. I have been in the restaurant, in the business for almost 6 years now. Prior to this, I was in restaurant management. So I graduated high school, moved away to go to college, and got a job at Outback Steakhouse as a waitress. That was going to be my bill payer throughout college. And unfortunately, college just didn't work out for me. I was in nursing school at Penn State. and going to work paid my bills. Going to school didn't at the time. So stopped going to one class so I could work more shifts, stopped going to 2 classes, and you know how the cookie crumbles from there. Eventually I wasn't going to any classes. Of course, with the typical statement of I'm going back one day, like I'll finish my degree. Like how many people out there have said that, right? Like I'm just going to take another year and then I'll get that degree. But in the meantime, Max, leave him alone, please. Sorry, I am with my 4-year-old and my 3-month-old. My husband works evenings, so it is. Hey, be nice, please. So it is just us here in the house this evening. But yeah, so I had all intentions of going back to finish that degree. But in the meantime, I was offered a salaried management position with Outback. Baby, get down. Come on, get up. Okay, as soon as mommy's done. Okay, just be quiet for just a little bit and let me finish this, okay? So I was offered a salaried restaurant position or management position when I first turned 21. And that was a good chunk of change for a 21-year-old. So that was what I did. I jumped in, and 10 years later, I was still in the exact same shoes. I had moved. I went from Pennsylvania to Florida to Iowa to Illinois, where I am today. But that job, I was able to transfer. I was able to still keep making decent money. And that was just where I ended up, right? There was no point in going back to school if I was doing all right. Iowa was where things really started to get different for me. I was commuting 45 minutes each way to work. I was working 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes. And I moved to Iowa with who was my fiance and now my husband at the time. But I moved to Iowa, took that position, the commute and the hours, like Mike and I saw each other maybe twice a month. If anything, we passed each other at the door, you know, as one was leaving for work or so on. And it put a lot of strain on our relationship. We ended up postponing our wedding for a year. And that was where the big change happened. I found out about my son. I found out I was pregnant with him 9 days before our wedding. And the rest is kind of history. I enjoyed my 3 months home with him on maternity leave. And when I went back to the restaurant after that, I knew that that wasn't a life that I was going to live anymore. I was in the restaurant 5 nights a week. I didn't get off work till anywhere between midnight and 3 in the morning. I was grateful to have my mother-in-law for childcare at the time. I was picking my son up every night between midnight and 3 a.m. Like I never got to put him to sleep. I never got to give him a bath, never got to read him a bedtime story. And it just wasn't a life that I cared to live anymore. So I decided to throw my all into what I called my side gig at the time. That is now my full-time gig. And 15 months later, I walked away from the restaurant and I've never gone to work outside of my home a day since then.
I love that. That was good. So question for you, because I feel like there wasn't really much of like a hesitation for you to join the business, really. It just sounded like you just did it. Like somebody brought it to your attention and you were like, yeah, like, let's just do it. So you're the very rare type of people that we see in this business that come to us or we go to you and you're like, yeah, let's do it. So what was it about that made you want to join?
So Caitlin Snyder, who you're going to hear from here in just a minute, is also my enroller, but she's also been my best friend for 18-ish years. Are we that old now? We met back when we were 18. She was in college. I was in college. We were both at the Outback Steakhouse, and that was where we became friends. And here we still are in our 30s and still friends. But she came to me out of the blue one day and said, hey, I just did something. I joined this business, this online business. Will you try my products? And I was like, sure. I had never even heard of It Works, had no idea what it was. I was like, what do you have to offer? Like, I'll try some things. So I got on her website, ordered a couple products to try. I don't think my products had even made it to me yet. And she kept telling me more and more about what this business, you know, what she was going to do with this business, these bonuses that were up for grabs. And she was going to make, you know, a couple. Let go, let go, let go, let go. And who couldn't use extra money, right? Like my restaurant job didn't pay poorly by any means, but I didn't necessarily have extra, and there surely wasn't a savings account. So I decided just to jump in because who can't use extra money, right? If anything, it was going to be some fun money for me. So before my products even showed up on my doorstep, I said, hey, let's just sign me up. I'm going to be a distributor and do this with you.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. I love how like trusting you were with with like Kate and just being like, let's do this. So, I mean, if you right now are watching this and your friend is messaging you, like now's the best time to go. Like, just do it. What do they say? Like, do it blindly or something, like jump in and just go do it blindly. Like, just do it, because who knows, you could be Kate and Kesley, 18 years later, friendship and doing this business, and look where they are, both home rocking their babies right now, like bringing in money and leaving the life of, the hustle of the restaurant life to be a stay-at-home mom now. So Kesley, thank you so much for sharing. That was awesome. I really appreciate it. All right, Kate, save the best for last is what they say, right? So go ahead, share your story. We're super excited to hear, because all three of us first off and signed what both of these ladies that just shared their story.
Yeah, super cool to hear others' stories and how, just the way that the business is presented to people and the other side. Because we know, as somebody that joined the business, we know how nerve-wracking it is to talk about the business and how hard it is to ask somebody into the business. And to have two people, on this call years later after joining is pretty special. So my name's Caitlin Snyder. February 4th will be my sixth year anniversary. And I was a stay-at-home mom prior to this. So a little bit of a different story. I do have restaurant background. I was in the restaurant for over 10 years, but my husband got a job and we moved across country. And on paper, it looked like my husband was going to make, a good amount that we felt comfortable for me to step back from going into restaurant management. So that's our story prior to. I'm a prior nursing student, but I never passed my boards. And I've had a hard background of failure that has just really followed me around like a dark cloud. And I thought really determined where my life was going to be. And so I know for a fact I saw Sam do this and I thought, man, wouldn't that be nice? And I didn't even give myself a chance to think, what if this did work? I gave myself all the reasons why it wouldn't. We worked really hard at a highlight reel, so that would have been up. I got the cold messages. And I was like, really? Like, you're not even going to say hello first? You're just going to like hit me with all that information? I just had a really bad taste in my mouth about it. I really didn't believe in things like this. I had heard about certain things and then companies getting shut down. I was really ignorant to what MLM was and could be. And so just kind of turned my nose up at it. But I always watched her. I never unfriended her. I never commented. I never liked, but I kept watching. And we moved back to Pennsylvania. My husband followed his job again. And when we bought a house, for those that are homeowners, the first year in your house is really kind of crazy because you're just not, different things come up. There's insurance, there's this, and you just don't know what your bills are or what your monthly budget is. And it became very clear that there was more month at the end of the money. And I could physically see the stress on my husband's chest. And it was Christmas of 2015 that I wrapped the presents underneath the downstairs in the basement, and I bawled. I couldn't believe that we were working as hard as we were working. And that was all we had to show for it. And at the time, being a stay-at-home mom, and I've said this before, ask a stay-at-home mom what she does all day. She will not be able to tell you, but we are busy from the moment that we wake up until the moment that we go to sleep. And so I didn't think that I had time. I didn't want to ask my friends and family to do this. I didn't want to be the girl messaging people from high school. I assumed that I knew everything about this business and all the kind of people that joined it. And that was the biggest factor that was completely wrong when I finally opened up the lines of communication and had the conversation with Sam for her to tell me, no inventory, no sales quotas, no mandated auto ships, no contracts, small startup fee. I spent $149 on things that I don't need that's never paid me back. And that I remember with my armpits sweating, I was like, okay, like there's low risk, like I can walk away, like I can do this. And I had an unsupportive spouse at the time. I told him what I did, that I joined this, and he was like, you're crazy. Like, this is not going to work and you're going to fail again. And I am not going to pick up the pieces this time. And instead of that breaking me, that lit a fire underneath me, and I got to work. And I worked when everybody went to sleep. I worked at between 10 and midnight. I remember coming down in my robe and I got on YouTube and I searched for successful people within the company, and I followed what Sam told me to do. And I had a go-getter mentality. I did something, I said, what's next? She gave me something, I said, what's next? She gave me a goal to sign 3 customers or talk to someone. I did it. I was ignorance on fire. I had no idea about the products. I had no idea about the ingredients. I am not a walking billboard for health and wellness, but I was excited. And I knew that I could get what was put out there. If other people could do it, that were putting bed sheets over their windows to save heat in their home, I knew that I could do it. And everything changed. And from that, not only have we gotten the financial freedom that we really, really never, ever expected, I've grown so much as a person because I have faced things that I didn't think that I was going to face. And I have pushed comfort levels that I didn't think I was going to do. And in that, as much as it made me, have like get so scared, I started to like walk through the fear, and I realized that I could really do anything that I set my mind to. And so here, 10 years ago, I wanted to be the person that I am now. I wanted to be brave, and I wanted to use a platform, and I wanted to be able to write and speak truth and do all the things that I'm doing now. And I thought that I had to have a degree to do it. And I thought that I had to have a title to do it. And little did I know that this was the vehicle that was going to allow me to become who I wanted to be.
That was good. I wrote down walk through the fear. That was good. I like that. I want to ask you something, and hopefully it's not too personal, but just what would you say to somebody who doesn't have the money? Because I feel like you always talk about, like, I didn't even have 2 nickels to rub together. So, for the person that wants to or is thinking about it, but money is like their holdup, like, what would you say to them?
To be super transparent, I would tell you to lovingly get over yourself, because you're not going to have any more money than you have right now if you don't do something about it. And at this point, 6 years in, I feel like we're foolproof, or you know what I mean? Like, if anything, you can come in and you can make your investment back, so you're in the business debt free. And if you can do the things to make the investment back, then you can absolutely make the couple $100s. If you don't have the money to do it, it's more reason to do it. Sam told me, and I will never forget this. She said, if you invest this, you will never struggle for that amount again. And I would tell you that within 6 years, I have never struggled for the startup cost. And it held me accountable. I knew that I had to make that back. I knew that I had to make that back. And that was the first step. I didn't think anything past that. It was the first step. Make your investment back. Okay, cool. Then at the time we had a shopping spree. Now y'all get 150 cash. That was the next step. That's all I paid attention to. Started reaching out to friends and family, started talking about it. I didn't ask Kez into the business. All I did was talk about the bonus, because at the time there was $1,000 Ruby bonus, and I told her that I was going to do anything to get it. And she was like, well, you're not going to make $1,000 without me. Sign me up. And I'm like, okay. And that's just, she is a gem. She's a rare find. But I just took the next step. And once I hit that shopping spree, then Sam said, okay, do it again. So I did it again. She said, do it again. I said, do it again. And you do that now, you're earning unlimited $150 and $350 bonuses. And that's life-changing money.
That was good. I like that. I keep saying that was good, but it's like so much great stuff is just coming from everyone's. Keza, you want to say something? Yeah, go for it.
I did. I wanted to touch on something that I feel is really important, and I left it out during my story. I was probably sidetracked by one of my little wackos here. But I think one of the things that I hear so much from people who are thinking about doing this is, oh, I don't have time. I can't imagine putting anything else on my plate. I'm so busy. Guys, I was a new mom, a new first-time mom, still working in the restaurant. Like, my short weeks were 50 hours. My long weeks were sometimes 80 hours, but I would say on average, I was 60 to 70, very, very consistently. And I was doing that for a really long time. So doing that with a new baby, still trying to take care of my house, the laundry, the groceries, all the things, right? Like all the things that we just like do as wives and mothers and significant others, right? If you want something different, you'll find the time to make something different happen. None of us started this because we had time. Like, honestly, who in this world sits around and is like, I just have so much free time, I don't even know what to do with myself? Not a single one of us, okay? Like, if you want something different, find the time to create time, okay? Because now I have more time. I can say now that I have more time. Am I still busy? Yeah, the laundry's still piled up. The dishes are in the sink. My babies need my love and attention. But you know what? I have the freedom of time to do that when I want to do that. I have the freedom of time to go to lunch with my husband on a Thursday if I want to. Or yesterday, I randomly picked up and went shopping with my mother-in-law because I don't have to clock in. Do I have to be disciplined to make the money that I make with this business? Absolutely, I do. But I can do my tasks at any point in the day that I want to. And that is a true freedom that you will never get from corporate America. I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's so true. Absolutely true. 100%. Guys, if you have not taken anything from these stories, you literally have no pulse, because these are some incredible stories, and what they've overcome and what they've worked so hard for. Just knowing like their determination and their drive, and like Hesley said, like if you want it, you'll find a way. If you want to watch that next series on Netflix, you'll find a way to watch it, just like this business. So why don't you turn that small amount of time that you have that you're watching your Netflix from, and shoot off some messages and do the things that we do that grows in our business, super easy stuff. And why don't you just give it a shot, right? Like just give it a try. You're not going to know until you try. You're not going to know if something's good for you unless you fail. You get back up and you do it again. Put one foot in front of the next, and don't even look. Just focus on your goal, focus on what you want, and you're going to reach it. I swear to God, promise you that you will do that. So if you're watching, we're just really glad that you're here. We're glad that you took the time out. I'm so glad that all three of you ladies hopped on, took the time away from the babies, got dolled up a little bit if you wanted to. Sam looking all cute and bronzy. But we're just so happy. I'm happy to have all three of you on, and I'm so happy that anybody that watched this, that you're watching the replay right now. But I want you to go right now, reach out to the distributor that invited you here, and I want you to just ask the questions. Ask all of the questions that are on your heart, and we will get you the answers, and we will tell you, from our heart how that question was for us. So thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody for watching in. Everybody have a great Thursday.